Hey, welcome back to Drive Time. I am your host, Craig Pasta Jardula, and we do it live, bringing you all the hot takes, headlines, and unfiltered opinions that matter most. Whether you're stuck in traffic, cruising to work, or just chilling at home, we want to hear from you. Today's topics are all about the big stories making waves, but we're not just here to talk at you. We want to hear your thoughts, your experiences, and your take on everything from the latest political debates to the everyday challenges we face. Remember, whether you're on the left, the right, or somewhere in between, we welcome all points of view. So grab that hands-free device, dial us up, and let's dive into the conversation. What's on your mind? It's Drive Time. Call in now. Oh, why am we?
Good morning.
What's going on? Is this like a new look or a new shot or something? Or
Yeah, I changed the layout.
okay,
It was
thanks
because
for-
of the meeting.
yeah, okay. Wait a second.
I don't
Where's
know.
the clock?
Wait,
where's my clock?
on,
In
hold
the I got my
Now that I don't know why that's gone. Hold on.
Why? What are you doing,
Why is this?
Josh? Anyways, welcome to the show, everybody. See if you could get it back on somehow, like whatever, like click some things.
I am. I didn't mess with the overlays.
I mean, they're off.
No.
Welcome to the show, everybody. We want to thank you for tuning in this morning. I don't know how many there are of you here. I'm going to figure that out. But thank you. We love you. Pretty soon, Kyle Anzalone should be around. We haven't done a show with him in a little while, so that's going to be fun.
There we go.
You got it back on?
Yeah.
No,
StreamYard
I
was
don't
being
have it.
stupid.
Huh? There
StreamYard
it
was
is.
being stupid. Oh, shit.
Was that a new soundbite or was that your dog?
That would be my dog.
All right, guys, wake up. Look at this. Ready here, guys? Ladies and gentlemen, just for you. This is going to be the first sip of coffee this morning. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Dude, it smells so good. It's like this lavender honey blend. Organic. That's so good. Man. You know, sometimes people express themselves when they got a lot of things going on in different ways. And I think that it's important that we don't, we sometimes look beyond the pale, right? We look a little bit deeper, you know. My mama used to tell me back in the days, like, sometimes when the lady's yelling at you for one thing, she's really mad about the other thing. So I was like, okay, they just don't express it that way. So if you got a friend who's freaking out a little bit, texting you in the middle of the night, stupid things like that, maybe there's something bigger going on. And instead of getting mad at that person and saying, hey, what the hell's wrong with you texting me in the middle of the night, you should say, is everything okay? Talk to me, babe. Talk to me. Takes a lot of patience to be a friend sometimes, a good friend. You know what I'm saying? We can, just talking to somebody recently, and two people I know very well, they're not kind of talking anymore. I'm like, what the hell's going on? You guys have been friends for so long. And then all of a sudden you get two people digging their feet in, not willing to talk, not willing to compromise is the word. Yesterday in the show, WBAI New York, I kind of went off about the COVID thing. We only had 4 callers. And I talked a lot about COVID. We talked about the Fauci thing, right? Because it's really bothering me. And Sleepy, I don't know how you feel about this. With the Epstein files, the Democrats at one point didn't talk about it, right? You weren't allowed to talk about it because it was hurting Hillary Clinton because of Bill Clinton's relationship to Jeffrey Epstein, to Hillary Clinton's relationship to Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, they vacationed in Zorro Ranch.
They were buddies, for sure.
they were going to Zorro Ranch on vacations, the whole family.
Dude, it's got a picture of fucking Bill in heels, man. Like,
right? Exactly. You got transhumanism. It's a small world ride in Zorro Ranch. It's a transhumanism after all. It's a transhumanism after all. And once again, like I said last night on the air, so think about it, guys. This is my channel right here. This is our show. This is, Sleepy Josh, Pasta Jardula, Gabriel Freedom, our producer. we run this show. This is like our baby. This is our channel. We can talk about it. I can get a little whatever way I want to go. I have no boss above me. We are the bosses here. We try to be considerate, come to conclusions, figure out what's going on. But basically, it's our thing. This is our thing. Think of ours, as the Greedos would say. But at WBAI, man, I'm walking through a whole different type of land field over there, right? It's a different element, a different environment. It's WBAI, which is a Pacifica radio station. The board of Pacifica is very, very Democratic Party. Very, very Democratic Party. And at the very least, the majority of people there, Amy Goodman, which is the flagship show over there, who, has crappy freaking coverage on like Venezuela, Nicaragua, Russia. They're anti-Russian. I mean, they're not in my mind anti-imperialist at all, right? They like some wars. It's kind of BS. You got to root for Mandami. It's that's the Pacifica radio station. You know how they feel about certain issues, right, Sleepy? How the Democrats, what you have to say when it comes to January 6th. If you don't go, oh my God,
insurrection,
democracy since Pearl Harbor.
I mean, yeah. I had enough friends that were there to know that shit was bullshit.
I got to be careful. I swear to God, on WBAI, I'm just waiting for the station manager to call me and say, that's it. I am. KPFK, somebody was talking about too as well. I used to be on KPFT. I don't know if that's a different one. It's probably a different Pacifica radio station, probably in North Carolina, I believe. Stacey, is that where you're at? I know you were in Tejas.
They're all pretty establishment Democratic.
They are. The board is. The main board in Frisco, which Pacifica, which controls all that, very, very much so, Democratic Party. And right before my show, they run the news. Katie Halper's show comes on before my show on Wednesdays. And right before my show, they got like one of those little things. Houston, thank you, Stace. They got one of those like little rundown 60 seconds of the news. And the attitude online, the attitude in the news on that channel, and then the attitude of the callers that day, yesterday, was like, oh, poor Mr. Fauci. How can they continue to call that guy? Bring him to Congress, Sleepy. He did what he had to do. He was moving at the speed of science. We didn't know, right?
Yeah, I remember him from, the previous shit. So fuck that guy. That's where I'm at.
Well,
however, he's just a patsy. That's kind of how I see it.
All right, but shit,
sure, hold him accountable, but he's not the head of the snake, man. Like
I feel
he wasn't controlling COVID policy.
Yeah, I just had a pen explode, but just break apart and not work. And I feel the same way. He's not the head of the stake. He looks like the fall guy. He's definitely,
he's old as hell. Like, what the fuck are you gonna do to him? He's like 90 years old, man. Like, okay.
As a matter of fact, Mr. Paul is just doing this to get me to say something so I would incriminate myself, and therefore I'm gonna plead the fifth.
I mean, I always think most of the time when people are pleading the fifth, they're guilty as shit. So,
well,
we all know he's a piece of shit, but.
I
don't know. He wasn't making the policy. He was just doing what he was fucking told, man.
And by the way, I'll be on Matt Weinglass's show today at 3:45 Eastern to 5 o'clock Eastern, talking about this subject on his show. Matt Weinglass just was on Jimmy Dore the other day for his first time, so that was pretty kind of awesome. But I opened up the show yesterday doing the Dave Chappelle skit. I plead the fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 5, I plead the fifth. So I woke up doing that yesterday. I did that on the show on W. But my co-host is a black man named Reggie, and he's Reggie Johnson. He runs the show. He's the engineer. He's the Sleepy J of Drive Time on Wednesdays. And I say that because it's a little bit important, right? Because the criticism I will get versus the criticism he will get, very, very different. But anyways, we're going to take a call. We have a caller, but let me just say this much. He opened up talking about sleeping with the things you're talking about, which was the AZT and AIDS and all that shit that's gone on. And if you look at that stuff, you'll see Fauci's dirty little fingers for quite some time. And the callers, there was one call that was a serious pushback, but this attitude from the Democratic Party. And when you ask them about questions about COVID itself, the answer is, I don't know. We don't know. We were moving at the speed of science. Joe Mama, it's good to see you. I'm glad you've been back. So I talked about you today. In fact, I got to share the show. But let's get to the caller. We got a caller early today. Kyle Anzalone, the Big Ragu, will be along shortly. I am Craig Pasta Jardula. We got Sleepy J. A lot of people in the chat. Gabriel's, of course, holding it down. She'll be in and out. Fred Edward always shows up. Entenmann Bill. We're going to have a fun time. Bob of Atlantis is here. It's a party. Who brought the milk? Let's pour the coffee. We got sugar. Caller, who are you? Where you calling from?
Hey, this is Stacy from Houston. How you doing?
How you doing, sweetheart?
Well, I tell you what, man, I see the narrative about Fauci changing, because what Fauci did and what there's evidence of him doing is changing the origin story of COVID. Everybody's talking about, did he control the lockdowns? Was he in charge of policy? But what he did was he basically funded the invention of COVID. If you believe if we take the conspiracy theories out of it and just look at what the regular narrative is, I mean, it was a virus that came out of Wuhan that he funded when funding was under moratorium by Obama. So there was a moratorium on gain of function research. He funded it anyway in a different country, and then he lied about it. I mean, this has nothing to do. I mean, this is the law that he broke, that he'll never go to jail for, because his unprecedented presidential pardon goes back to the year that the moratorium by Obama was enacted.
Yeah.
It has nothing to. I mean, but the funny part about it is the mind control game that's being played, where everybody's discussing a different topic. Nobody's discussing. They're discussing, oh, did he have control over policy? Didn't he? It's like, no, he lied about gain of function research. He lied about funding gain of function research, and he funded it, and it started COVID, and it killed millions of people. I don't know why this isn't the main story.
All right, let's unpack that, Stace, because there's a lot of things to talk about there, and you're absolutely right. I think the actual crime, and it's not anything he just lied about it, like he pushed a different narrative, right? He tried to cover his lie on top of the lie itself. It's one thing to say, okay, let's say it didn't come from here and that's it, we'll hold our ground. It didn't come from a lab, right? Could have came from a wet market, but he was pushing the other narrative. And it was plain and simple in all those we saw his diary for one, then we saw the emails before that, so we knew. However, I think the reason why so many people are concentrating on other things as a whole, when you talk to different people about COVID, there are different things that make them go, remember that song by the CNC Music Factory, things that make you go, There are different things that really get people for the And overall, to pull COVID off, there had to be many, many lies, right? Wouldn't you believe those, Stacey? And what I'm saying is that I know that people should be concentrating on the thing that really, if I was a lawyer and I was trying to prosecute somebody, I would prosecute them and stay laser beam focused on the thing they broke the law on and the thing they can go to jail on, right? I wouldn't be distracted with other stuff. And believe you me, I'm involved in a case right now where I say to the lawyer, hey man, can't we talk about this and this and that? And the lawyer's like, no. Concentration, we got to concentrate on this right here. This is the big sin. This is the big thing that where the law was broken. However, it seemed like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Stacey, that they had to have another lie after another lie after another lie after another lie. Dudes know this stuff. When we lie to women, we start with one lie, and then we got to get another lie to keep that other lie going, and another lie. I don't think it's just with men, with women. It could be just in general, right? But we got to continue the lie after the other lie to keep that original lie true. So I do think there's a reason why a lot of people are talking about different things, right? For me, there's also the fact that Fauci and his crew kept the whole fact that Wuhan did a study, the people, the citizens, as far as treatment, that the what do you call it? When you get it, but you don't have symptoms. The asymptomatic don't spread the disease, right? If you get that out there and that information is talked about, then you don't need lockdowns. So to me, that was another big lie that was not talked about. And when Fauci was questioned about it, he kind of shoved it off to the side. Go ahead, Stace. Your words.
Yeah. I think. I mean, you're right. Of course, you're right. And so yes, and
Yeah.
I think what I have a problem with is nobody's going back to 2014, which is when gain of function research. When Obama placed a moratorium on this kind of research because it was dangerous, and Fauci funded it anyway.
Yeah.
That's the origin of COVID. He funded the research even though there was a presidential moratorium saying, don't fund this. We don't want our NIH. The people that were elected, if you believe in elections, our representative, Obama, our president, the representative of the people, said, don't fund this. And an unelected official funded it anyway. That's the problem.
So
all the other stuff is cover up and conspiracy and this, that, and the other. But also there's a ton of evidence it's non-negotiable. It's not, there's nothing gray or touchy-feely about it. He broke the law.
Well, I don't know about that, because in the Patriot Act, there is a whole section which it's very vague, but it kind of, in its written words, and I went back and I read it a couple times, it does kind of open the door to, some form of bioweapons testing, or allowing that to be looked upon. You know what I'm saying? It went in the name of national security. So I don't know. I mean, I would like to see that be challenged, because I don't know how much power the president has to shut down that law. You know what I'm saying? In other words, I don't know. I would still think it had to go back to Congress, the funding, the whole 9 yards. But the thing about it is, too, Stacey, despite that, what you're talking about right now, and I would love to see that litigated. I'd love to talk to lawyers and see what they say. They put up what Obama said and put up the Patriot Act and see which one would supersede the other. And I think there's
I'd rather see discovery on it. Discovery on it. Discovery on that would be gnarly.
Would be amazing.
Well, he was asked about it. He was asked about it in a congressional testimony, and basically started really parsing his words and giving centimeter by centimeter descriptions of why what he funded wasn't gain of research, even though it does exactly the same thing that gain of research does, or gain of function research. He just tried to dance some kind of fine line and say, well, this wasn't gain of research, and by changing one word in the definition, that's what happened. He snaked, and it doesn't really matter because he's got a presidential pardon. He can't go to jail anyway. The only reason he's not saying anything is to save all those other people that were in on the, vast, brainwashing or whatever the hell that was. Because they're all implicated too. Yeah,
that was one of the best parts of of all the hearings and everything else. When Fauci said that in one of the first hearings when he was questioned, no, it was not Senator Paul. However, if it was done, it would be done in North Carolina. It's like O.J. Simpson. I didn't kill my wife, but if I did do it.
But if I did.
That makes the Chappelle skits real, Stace. But look, there's I see people in the chat, and this is the thing too as well. I wish you guys would have listened to. I should have put it on air yesterday. I was running around. I just came on. I could flip it on. But yesterday's WBAI show, and it was only 4 callers. And the first caller was a guy, Steve from Pearl River, who calls in a lot. Once again, I agree with a lot, but I knew this is an area where there might be some disagreements. And after talking about, and that's the thing when you talk to people who are Democrats or leftists who are they just dig in further. They still dug in, right? They don't want to admit what's going on. And I'm still screaming that this vaccine is a emergency use authorization, which is to me is the craziest fucking thing right now. Like, it's still under emergency use authorization. You're still just plainly, and this is why I'm saying it's more than Fauci. It's a deep cover up. The government is still protecting vaccine companies, Pfizer and Moderna for one. Moderna, connected to DARPA, all that stuff, which is another thing that makes you go bing. They're still protecting them, and people are still dug in. But every single time, Stacey, I question them about this or that, right? Like, the main question for the woman, her name was, I think it was Rebecca or Renee, and she was from Manhattan or wherever. I don't even think she was Manhattan. She just was somewhere in New York. I said to her this, Stace. I said, plain and simple, do you believe the vaccine stopped the transmission of the virus from one person to the other? Well, we don't know. I'm like, yes, we do know. The pharmaceutical companies have already said this. I heard that maybe, it just lessens the blow and whatnot, but we don't know for sure. I'm like, yes, we do know for sure. When you have conversations with a lot of these people, they say, I don't know, or we don't know is what they like to say. They still like to play dummy and be in the dark. It's like they purposely don't educate themselves on this situation because they want to believe what they were told by Big Daddy government that they needed to do this for the cause or for public safety, right? For public health. So it's crazy to me that they're still dug in on this stuff. And she was even like, I can't believe this conversation is happening on WBAI. That's another thing they're doing. They're still with the whole cancel culture shit. Go ahead, Stace.
Right. Well, this is the thing about mind control, because they tap into your tribal affiliations, and the way that works is that they repeat messages over and over again. So if you're on Facebook right now, there's 100 posts that are going around that's saying, "Oh, these Republicans are trying to get poor Fauci," and
I know.
So the signal that goes off in these people's brains is that in order to be in the in tribe, which is basically become my feed, I have to agree with the in tribe mantra, and so logic gets turned off because you don't want to get cast out from the tribe, even if the tribe has become this artificial thing. It's still working. Yeah.
Gabrielle.
That's how it works.
Gabrielle Freedom, our producer of the show, she does a lot of work for Drive Time, and she's done a ton of work for Pasta to Go. Got me on the stage at the Mind Fest. She's come up with something, and I kind of agree with her too. I like the word tribe, but I think good things happen in tribes, right? Like tribes can get a lot of shit done. They can grow their own food, make their own bullets, really help each other. They can be part of a community. I think the proper word that she used and we should use is cult. It's cultish behavior at this time because it's like you got to go along and believe what the cult says, And this ain't about growing food
fake tribes.
Yeah.
Fake tribes. Like fake news, you got fake tribe.
Yeah.
You got a fake tribe. You got to figure out the difference between the real tribe and the fake tribe. I mean, the tribes are the only thing that's gonna save us, and that's kind of, to me, that's kind of what anarchy's about. I mean, anarchy's basically just a tribe. Each tribe figures out what it's going to do on its own and does it.
Yeah.
Remember, so
there's rules in a tribe, just no rulers.
Well, some tribes have rulers, but that's
no rulers.
If it's anarchy and one tribe decides it wants rulers, it can have rulers.
Yeah.
It's fine. There's no law against it. It's not really the ethos, but sometimes you might like in the Indians used to have leaders just for certain purposes. If you're going into battle
Leaders
or
is
you're
the
going to
better
go,
word, right?
plant a garden, maybe you want a leader.
Leader, not ruler. Leader. Nobody rules, but
Hell
everybody.
yeah.
But someone leads. So
Hell yeah. I love you, Pasta.
I love you too, Stacy.
I got to make more coffee now.
I need to pour more coffee. You have a great day. Thanks for being the first caller. How was your event last couple weeks ago?
Everything's been going just better than I could imagine.
Awesome. I'd love to get your cooking. I'd love to taste your cooking one day, really, to tell you the truth,
All right. I'm going to make some cochinita pibil for some friends that are coming over in a couple days.
What are you going to make?
I got to get me some pork. I got to start. Cochinita pibil. It's a Mexican. So it's like, it's kind of like a pork marinated in like orange juice and chilies. And then you wrap it in banana leaves and smoke it for a few hours and serve it with pickled, red onions and fresh handmade tortillas.
Man, that sounds good.
That?
I want some of that too.
What time we coming
Right,
over?
love
I love you too.
Yeah, come on
Stacy
over.
from
Houston, Texas,
Houston.
if you're ever here. All right, I got to
Man,
room. Goodbye.
that sounds good.
You're the best.
All right, you'll find me. Bye.
You're the best. Woo!
All right, we got the ragu.
The big ragu is entering the building. We should play John Cena music for him every time he's coming.
Hey, we already got another
Ladies
call.
and gentlemen, it's the big Kyle Lanzalone.
Hey, Pasta. How's it going, guys?
In the Libertarian Party, because Chase Oliver wore a mask one Thanksgiving, half the Libertarian Party decided to go vote for Donald Trump. And because he said that it's up to the parents if they want to go to drag time, story hour, whatever like that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, wait, I do think he was asked if he should take
his
his niece to a drag show. So he was actively participating in the culture, which libertarians, I think, rightly objected to.
He said it's up to the parents to decide what is going on.
But
that is a libertarian
he actually
stance.
did it himself too, though.
Yeah. All right, let's take the caller and we'll we'll talk. Did you vote for Donald Trump?
No.
That's what I'm talking about. I love you.
I didn't vote for Chase Oliver either, though.
Who?
I didn't vote for Chase Oliver either.
What's up, Sleepy?
I voted for Chase.
Greg Walker.
It's Greg Walker.
What are you doing up? This sick bastard. It's 5:30 in the morning there.
I'm on my way to work, man.
What a job ain't nothing but work. Can we go side by side on this and put your old view up, Josh, or is it? Do you have that one where you can put you at the top and put us side by side?
I can do it in a minute. Hold on.
All right. Greg, what do you got for us this early in the morning?
I don't know. I was on hold for a minute. I wanted to talk about Fauci. I don't know if you guys moved on or not.
Well, Stacy was the first caller. We did talk about Anthony Fauci. Anthony Fauci. I think he's just a fall guy. I think this is bigger than him. There are things that made me believe that this was a globalist agenda. The lockstep document, which was written by the Rockefeller Foundation years ago, pretty much laid out exactly what they were going to do during coronavirus. And like I said before, this is not about a vaccine or a shot or a virus. This is about our civil liberties being pulled away from us when the government thinks they can do what they want to do. Really, that's the test of this whole thing. There are people in New York who still don't have their jobs because they were mandated to take a vaccine and their civil liberties were taken away. Now, a lot of those same people that complain about that didn't care about due process when it came to immigrants, and that's where we get confused and it sucks up, and we've seen this back and forth. But this is more about control and the narrative and how the government was able to get people to quarantine in their house without even putting a tank on the fucking street. Greg?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Why you gonna embarrass me in front of my
here's
friends?
What Fauci's guilty of. Authorizing the emergency use of AZT during the AIDS epidemic and killing a bunch of AIDS patients, and then rebranding AZT as remdesivir and authorizing its use for COVID patients and murdering a bunch of them. At what point do we line up somebody and shoot them?
Yeah. But don't you believe he's part of a bigger picture, Greg?
Yes, but he authorized it for
Yes.
profit, as far as I could. I mean, I would argue eugenics too. It was the gays and black community, and then the elderly, and the comorbidities and whatnot.
Yeah. Kyle, what do you
I
think?
saw on Ets yesterday somebody responding to Dave Smith or somebody else on Ets about this, saying exactly what crime is Anthony Fauci guilty of. And I mean, honestly, it's crimes against humanity, right? Even, the development of the virus he's responsible for, escalating the fear among the people, turning people against each other. I don't know if you remember, Pasta, there's a really great journalist, Reese Ehrlich, who died during the COVID pandemic. And his last article was really moving, where he talked about that it was COVID and they didn't do his cancer screenings, and his prostate cancer came back with full force and killed him in a couple, I think, weeks. It was like really, really rapid once he found out. And so there's 100,000 people, million people around the world like Reese who, were denied their regular medical treatment during COVID and died because of Fauci's lockdowns. And again, we're just talking about small portions of this here. We could talk about the economic impacts, the inflation, particularly, I'm a 35-year-old man, so I know a lot of other men my own age who really struggled during this time, and had some people I know kill themselves, and others who got really deep into substances, and just their lives have never gotten back on track post COVID. And just this man, you're right, he might be the fall guy, he might be the figurehead, but if we want to have a society with the rule of law, that man must spend every last moment of his life behind bars. That's the only way there could ever be justice.
What about Donald Trump? He signed the CARES Act. He was all about Operation Warp Speed. He was negligent. He was ignorant during the whole situation. I mean, you could say he was ignorant, or maybe he knew what was going on, but shouldn't there be other people to take the fall as well? And here's a very interesting comment, because we talked about...
He was president, though. How many, can we go back and get all the presidents? I'd be fine with that for all their crimes against humanity. But, you know me, I don't fucking love the government one bit.
You're a government lover. Stop it. You love Big Brother.
Yeah. Especially the Democrats. They tell me they love me before they fuck me.
Yeah.
I mean, Donald Trump, it was kind of the Democrats, I think, that let Donald Trump out the hook for the COVID lockdowns, because, they crafted this narrative that, the MAGA and Trump are all anti-lockdowns and masking and vaccines. And Donald Trump has made it very clear, he was on board with most of that. And so, Donald Trump does and should be in prison for that. I guess I'd rather lock up Fauci for the COVID, and we could lock up Trump for the war against Iran, so we could kind of see justice in both of those things. But, it just seems so... you got so much more work to do against the narrative to convince people that Donald Trump is guilty for the COVID stuff, because everybody thinks that he must have been anti-vax and anti-mask and anti-lockdown and all this stuff, when really he's the one that initially signed off and endorsed all this crap.
Yes, he was the guy. Operation Warp Speed. Go ahead, Greg.
All right, here's what Fauci did, though. He knew AZT kills people, rebranded that shit, and killed more people, calling it remdesivir, and incentivized it being used by hospitals along with ventilators. Now, I'm not saying Anthony Fauci's a moron who didn't know that would probably kill people, but I don't think he's a moron. I think he is the science.
But who was the HHS secretary at the time that Donald Trump was finishing up before Xavier Becerra? Because the guy who's going to be the governor of California, the great state that you live in, Xavier Becerra, he was the HHS secretary under Joe Biden. So the majority of the money that came out of the CARES Act was designated by him to go to whoever, right? He made the rules. HHS decided the CARES Act got all this money. HHS, the Health and Human Secretary, they said where the money's going to go and for what reasons. And the majority of that money went through the hands of the guy who's going to be the governor of California. You see how it works? If you play good for the global elites and you do what they need you to do, they'll reward you. They're giving him the governorship of California for his work he did during COVID. But when that remdesivir shit started, right, the way it was structured, that was all structured through HHS, the Health and Human Services and the secretary. So that whole protocol that came through, that was recommended through the CDC, the money that got the hospitals to do what you're talking about, and you're right, AZT, remdesivir fucking failed the Ebola trials, for crying out loud. It was like a zombie drug that came back and back and back. But there was financial incentives that were set forth from HHS to say, after your COVID test, if you get them on remdesivir and you get them on a ventilator, you actually got bonuses for doing that, money bonuses. So they were incentivized to actually kill people financially while cutting off all those other surfaces that Kyle had talked about, that his friend couldn't get screening and whatnot. They concentrated all on those areas, and in those areas, people died while hospitals got rich and new billionaires were created, and it all started with the pen from Donald Trump. So I don't know if he's just not as just not as guilty, right? Excuse me, I can't. Blah 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 blah. Why isn't he just as guilty?
Yeah, I mean, I can't prove his intention, but it's like it doesn't matter what he intended. What matters is what happened. And the CARES Act bailed out essential corporations to not lay off workers, and what do? Lay off everybody immediately and use that money for stock buyback.
Yeah.
Another crime.
Yeah. You know what the money that people got for COVID, they did the whole Wall Street bets thing. A lot of those people and a lot of senators and congressmen were mad that they did that. They got all they doing all this Wall Street bet thing with the money they get from the government because of COVID. It's like, hey, you're the ones who fucking enacted the lockdowns and shit, and told people they couldn't go to work. Now you're gonna get mad at them when they use the money against you, you fuckface.
Hey, remember when Biden was talking about taxing unrealized capital gains?
Yeah.
That's like theoretically what you might make in the future. We're going to tax that.
Yeah.
Fuck out of here.
But seriously, Greg, and somebody put in the chat too as well that this was a military psyop in which the military gets involved. They're like legally allowed to lie to you, deceive you. They're allowed to do these things because in the name of national security, they can get away with what they want to get away with. We had to say this because we're protecting our national security. It's actually illegal for them to lie. So when you look at COVID as a whole, somebody mentioned the PCR, right? Like pushing this PCR test that they knew would have a lot of false positives would create the element of a global crisis. There's so many false positives that we have to do something. But they wouldn't mention that it was false positives. They would just mention it was COVID cases. Oh, people got COVID. No, it's not. The guy who invented PCR, Kelly Mullis, said it should never be used as a diagnosis. And then he was accidentally suicided, right? The way the CDC changed the definition of natural immunity, which like kind of made people go, well, my natural immunity. My mom got the vaccine because her doctor talked it into it. And after we had COVID. And she promised me she wouldn't get it, but her doctor told her she has a heart issue. Well, my mom had a blood clot and a stroke, right? Now, I can't fucking prove that it was that, but I have a fucking strong feeling it was, I mean, the whole industry was in on this. I mean, doctors who were just blindly going along with this. There are so many people who are guilty right now. And the thing that worries me about the whole situation, right? When I talked about it again, asymptomatic. They did a study in Wuhan. Asymptomatic did not spread the disease. Therefore, if you understand that, there's no need for lockdowns. They had to lie and hide that information so they can fucking have lockdowns because they wanted to shut down small businesses. And that's where the big ragu gets mad, because you don't shut down small businesses when a libertarian's on watch. No, you don't fucking do that shit. There were so many lies. It was a lie after another lie after another lie after another lie. I think this whole thing needs to be analyzed. But
let me jump in for a second.
Let me finish up. We see this whole situation where lefties or Democrats are saying, poor Mr. Fauci. It's they still don't want to admit. Go ahead.
So in my hometown where I lived at the time of COVID and all that, like in California, like we had a really active, like there was about a mile of just small businesses, great, old school businesses. Some had been there for decades. COVID hit, man. Where'd you
live at, Sleepy?
It was in Stockton.
Stockton? I wouldn't have never guessed that for you.
Yeah, the 209.
Another fucking Norteño.
Yeah, it's a little rough there, but it was a cool little, local area with a lot of small businesses. They were great businesses. Pretty much every single one of those was closed down within a year after that shit hit. After lockdowns, just gone. It just I saw it.
Even if you're willing to break the law and just keep your business open, where was the business going to come from?
Yeah, it's nuts, dude. I saw it and then within a year of that, there was crackheads and fucking people shooting up on that block, like a block away from my house, man. It was nuts.
And one of the things that happened during COVID, one of the reasons that small businesses were hit so hard, it was, I think, 2021, and I had a buddy who worked at CarMads. I was talking to him, and I was, initially thinking like, oh man, business must be rough for you guys. People aren't coming in. He says, no, we're the only car dealership in town open, because CarMads has a whole bunch of corporate lawyers. So they could go to the city government and they could present a plan and they could say like, hey, we're going to do this, this, and this, and this, and nobody's going to get COVID here. So all the other car dealerships, and most car dealerships aren't like CarMads. They're not national chains. They're people that have, like 3 or 4 dealerships in a city or something like that. And so there was only one car dealership that was allowed to be open, and so it drove everybody else out of it. This is obviously what happened, and that's just one industry, but I'm sure it was happening across the board everywhere else, where these massive nationwide restaurant chains, they have all the lawyers and access to politicians, and so they could figure out how we craft the rules to stay open and remain as profitable as possible, where small businesses just get completely left out. They have no say, they have no voice, they have no lawyers, and so they just have to comply with all the dictates coming out from bureaucrats who don't understand COVID and just religiously followed whatever Anthony Fauci said that day.
Josh, you didn't get the chance to finish your statement, Sleepy. Sleepy? Sleepy. Did we lose
You're
him?
saying all the small businesses in Stockton on
they all shut down. I mean, that was about the end of it. I saw it gut my own neighborhood, and I'm sure it was like that the rest of the city. So, and the rest of the country, frankly. It's sad. I mean, places I had gone to since I was a kid, man. It was just crazy.
Don, you're sending me some stuff. Don wants to make a point. But Don, I can't read the whole thing on freaking air. Call in, summarize it, and call in. Get on the line, and let's talk about it. That's what the show's about. We don't have the Don DeBar brain where we can process, freaking 6 pages in 2 seconds. And then, so I love when Don tells a story. Let's start from the beginning. And you got to let me do it my way because I got to explain it my way. All right. Let's go back to 1936, right? There was this troll on a bridge.
Hey, I appreciate anyone that brings historical context to what they're talking about.
I love Don. But Don, I want you to compartmentalize it for the audience to understand pretty much. Because what I'm seeing is he wants to talk about the modernizing influence of vaccines in the United States to promote national security and public health. And he's going to talk about that in 2019, which it was an executive order before this all happens. that's the great thing about Don. He can also too, if you want to talk about what Obama did in AFRICOM, he can explain all that stuff to you. There's, what I'm saying?
Was it an executive order? I thought it was a mandate. Which, in
2019, it was a presidential document. It was a presidential document by executive office of the president. It looks like it was an executive order. Okay. Okay. So Don's going to call in a little bit. We'll get some information from him. So Greg, your thesis is, at the end of the day, we still have to hold Fauci accountable. He still has to go to jail. That's the way Kyle feels. That's the way I feel, too, as well. But I do want us to not lose our... Listen, this, like I said, this thing is bigger than Dr. Fauci. I don't want Fauci to just become the fall guy. And seeing the way a lot of people concentrate on him. There's a lot of other people they can be calling to Congress and they could have been questioning other than Fauci, right? What about...
I want to get these fucking CEOs in there.
Yeah.
Why is he in a fucking open courtroom?
Yeah. Kyle, you're muted. Kyle, you're muted. Kyle, you're muted.
Jeez, sorry about that, Pasta.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to actually have a fall guy in this situation, though. Typically, these crimes go without anybody ever having accountability. So, look, even if Fauci is just a fall guy, I will celebrate the hell that somebody ends up going to jail for these level of crimes committed by the U.S. government.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with that statement. My fear is that, everyone's like, oh, well, the guy who's responsible for it all, he's in jail now. Wash your hands of it. It's all good.
Move on. Yeah.
That's where I think that's kind of where
when Fauci dies,
this needs an Oliver North.
Huh?
This needs an Oliver North, at least at bare minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he didn't go to jail. He's got marijuana.
No, he went to jail.
Yeah, he did, and then he got a job at Fox News.
Yeah, he went to jail. Now he works on Fox.
How long did Oliver North go to jail for?
I don't remember. Probably not very
3
long.
months?
But
Yeah.
Yeah, slap on the wrist regardless. It ain't gonna matter.
Get out of here with that shit. 3 months.
Or they'll just release him for compassionate release because he's like 900.
That's one of the countries I go to most is Nicaragua. I've been there 3 times, right? What you talk about the Civil War, right? And it was a civil war. This is the dirtiness and the darkness right now because the Contra movement was a little bit different than the family that was there before controlling. He got neighbors and stuff to fight each other and stuff. It wasn't Oliver North. Once again, it was the CIA and what they had done for so long. There's a lot of death and destruction there, and they sold a lot of crack on the street. Once again, it was the CIA selling that crack on the street, not Oliver North. He wasn't in control of that shit. All the funding came from the heads of the CIA that were fucking getting Freeway Rick Ross to
Don't
sell
forget,
crack
the
cocaine.
death squads were child soldiers. Families were murdered by the CIA and then told the communists did it.
It was awful. Greg, thanks for calling in, brother. We love you. Be safe. I hope you're liking your new job.
Appreciate the space, brother.
Got it, brother.
I'm used to doing everything fucking analog, and I got to use a bunch of apps now, but manifest and all that shit.
Take it easy on the mushrooms, will you, buddy?
Huh? What?
Take it easy on the mushrooms.
I don't even know what, huh?
Prank caller.
I would never pasta fly with those in my carry-on and then accidentally hand you a bag of them.
Oh man, the casino just looked so pretty that night. Get out of here, Greg. I love you, brother.
All right, man. You and Kyle are like those gremlins. The little cute one though. What's his name? Ginzo?
The Mogwai.
Ginzo, like a little couple of Ginzos.
We're
I'm not fucking around with you guys. And John. All right.
Mogwais, that's what we are, brother. Love you, man.
All right, appreciate
All right. We got another caller on hold, and we're going to get right to that caller.
It'll take a sec.
But Kyle, any thoughts right now that you want to pick up right now? Because like I said, I get it that somebody needs to go to jail, but This is a bigger. This was in the work for so long. You know, there were Dr. David Martin, and once again, a lot of these people, some of the shit they say, they go too far, they go over the top. But Dr. David Martin did do a lot of work where he can show you in black and white the patents for vaccines, specifically for coronavirus, have been around for quite some time. They've been planning this for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Caller. We have caller.
Madame.
Caller, are you
Caller.
there?
Can you hear us?
Hi, it's Joanna. How are you?
Hi, Joanna. How are you?
Joanna, we got a couple people on hold. Joanna, where have you been?
I have been all over the place, seriously. These past couple of weeks between the kids going back to school, between I have a surgery coming up and just a whole lot of things happening. And then I was in training and work, and it's just been a lot. But I'm back.
So we've had conversations before, right? So
yeah,
I'm interested to hear your stance on COVID-19. And I don't want to go too far. I don't want to ask too many questions. You can keep the information yourself. You can say, I don't want to answer that and whatnot. But how do you look at this whole thing with Dr. Fauci? And maybe how do you look at the whole COVID situation overall?
Well, so I can only speak to my own experience, right? And what I've actually been through. I've gone to boot camp. And when I went to boot camp, they shot me up with a whole bunch of different shots that I didn't even know what it was. And like 3:00 in the morning arriving, and I survived. So when they said, oh, we need to get a vaccine, I was like, sure, why not? Who knows what I've been shot up with already? My best friend, she refused to get the shot. Flat out refused, said that this is, it's going to hurt her. She doesn't trust it, whatever. She still to this day has never gotten the shot. In April of 2020, her daughter passed away. She had, it was SIDS. She was 4 months old. So I flew up to Indiana, is where she is, and I went to see her and help her through that time. And I was vaccinated. She wasn't. Her whole circle, whole family, everybody around her, nobody trusted the vaccine, so nobody got it. There was a couple people sniffling. I did my best to stay away. But when I got back, I found out that all of them had COVID. Immediately, I went to go get tested. I got tested a couple times after that just to be sure, never got COVID. So that's been my experience. I also have some uncles in Jersey who had passed away from COVID, who didn't get the shot because they were they weren't strong enough at that point. They were too old. They were recommended not to get the shot. And everybody around them was careful, but they still ended up getting COVID and passed away. In my opinion, I just, when it comes to like wearing the mask and all of that stuff, I think that should have just always been a thing because I can't stand when people sneeze around me when I don't know you. That's just like, keep it to yourself. But I just, when it comes to like the bigger picture of, was this a conspiracy? Was this another agenda? Did the virus get out to kill a bunch of people around the world, lower the population? I believe there's definitely something to all of that. This just doesn't happen by accident and then have all of the things that fall into place. But do I think the vaccines work? Yes. Do I think that the vaccine could hurt people? Yes, because there's always a risk reward with any medication you take. And you have to weigh that with your doctor.
Wow. Okay. So this one of the callers yesterday for the show, sorry, One of the callers yesterday in the show, I'm talking about the WBAI show, the one I do in New York. I do the same show every Wednesday at 4 o'clock from 4 to 5. I don't know if I told you that, Joanna. That's how I started this. And they were going to give me more time, but then they found out who I was, and they're not giving me more time. So I said, fuck it, I'm going to start drive time in the mornings so then I can have a show where I can wear my sunglasses and a show where I can talk to normies, more normies, right?
More normies.
And what's that?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Sleepy.
It was an echo.
Oh, my bad. But when I talk to people out there, I still think they come from this point of view where they look at the fact that people died who didn't get the COVID vaccine. Do you think that, and obviously you're open to think that this might be something, a bigger picture, a bigger plan. There's a lot of things that changed. Obviously with Kyle here, we can always talk about the economic effects that really took place, right? Everything was rearranged economically. In fact, I love this Facebook marketplace thing. You ever see this thing? I haven't gone into it, but I see the videos of people selling food out of their houses. Well, they were allowed to do this stuff from some of the laws that took place during COVID because they wanted to keep people in homes and whatnot. And what was kind of spawned out of it, the ingenuity of Americans, what Kyle would like to call the free market forces, right? That's what Chase Oliver would say all the time. Free market forces. The guy was such a fucking libertarian. I don't know why people get behind him. But people selling food out of their houses now without all that red tape. You know what I'm saying? I think it's kind of cool, and I love that. But there were a lot of small businesses that were open for years that Sleepy Josh talked about that closed down. The financial incentives, the way everything was moved around. The CARES Act, which was the order in which Donald Trump signed, which pretty much was the biggest transfer of wealth upward to the 1% ever. Like it was it was a bigger transfer of wealth than the bailouts they got Wall Street from the Wall Street bailouts. There was more money that was given out during COVID, right? For this order. So, I mean, all these things definitely changed and you're open to that. But I don't know, because I'm fishing around. This is the part where I'm kind of fishing, Joanna, because you're coming from the perspective, and a lot of other people, the caller yesterday came from that same perspective, that there was a price to pay if you didn't take the vaccine, where some other people just feel on the other side that you're putting yourself at risk if you do take the vaccine. Do you think that the government hid other treatments or that could have possibly been used, like all those people that didn't take the vaccine? Did they have the McCullough protocols on them? Did they have little packages of ivermectin?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, if you have money, and that's beyond COVID. I mean, that goes into cancer, into a whole bunch of other different diseases that, of course, there's things out there that the wealthy have access to that the rest of us don't. That is I vehemently believe that, because you see the wealthy, it doesn't work all the time, but they get sick and it's just, they get better. They inject the money directly into their veins, and that's what cures them. For sure, there's cures and there's different treatments out there that help that normies do not have access to. That I think goes beyond just COVID.
But Joanna, what I'm talking about is not the fact that they didn't even have access to it. And yes, the government, Andrew Cuomo was a great example when he tried to stop people from getting hydroxychloroquine, which taking in a cocktail, right? And Dr. Zelenko was the first one to push this out there, something he called the circle of trust, having to find out, the circle of sympathy, having to find out, what are you going to do, right? There was no vaccine at the time. People are dying. What are you going to do? Did your research, found something. It's actually cheaper to get these things. In other words, it was cheaper treatments to get ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine. And then the cocktails were mostly supplements and vitamins, vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc. There's zinc ionophores, getting that zinc into your system. What's the other one? Quercetin, things you can buy in a vitamin shop, the majority of the things. You need to get one pill, that wasn't really given out by Big Pharma. It was off patent, so there were knockoffs of it. It was made cheaply. But what I'm trying to say, it was it wasn't even the fact that the rich had access to it. It's that they change the information to dupe the poor. You know what I'm saying? To mischieve the poor.
Yeah.
Kyle, you got anything
Yeah,
to say about this?
ivermectin and hydrochloroquine, they're cheap as hell, man. Like
Yes, they're dirt cheap.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't have really anything to add to what you just said, Pasta.
Gotcha. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course they want us to spend the money where we spend the money, but at the same time, like the COVID shot was free. It didn't cost anything. At least
No, it cost the
I
taxpayers.
mean, even if you didn't have insurance.
It cost the taxpayers.
Yeah.
A lot.
Well, that's a whole nother thing. What I just saw the other day that Donald Trump put together a bill that's going to prevent generic prescriptions from they're going to be taxed and oh my God, I'm losing words. They're going to put tariffs on the generic prescriptions that are made outside of America and force them to bring it to America. But the thing is that it's not, you can't just pop up a distributor here. Like it's not, you can't do that quickly. And what's going to end up happening is we're going to lose access to all generic drugs, and then we're going to have to go with the higher, the name brand drugs. Like, of course, it's all connected for sure. They want us to spend the more money on this stuff, when it comes, and they say, oh, there's not enough money for things, but there's money. There's not enough money for social services, but there's money. They just don't want to spend it there. Somehow they always come up with ways of spending more money on things and solving non-issues, and making other things an issue. I mean, yeah, agree with that 100%.
Donald Trump
Or just blowing shit up.
Yeah. we can't do that. We can spend the money on wars. We got wars going on. We can't give Medicare for all to the people. What are you kidding me? We can't give child care to the kindergarten for all. The state should do it.
We got to give millions of dollars to the insurrectionists.
What are you talking about? Don't start.
It was just a party at the
There's always
Capitol.
money when they want it.
It was no insurrectionists there, okay? I can tell you this from a person who was there up close and personal. There was no insurrectionists there. A bunch of Second Amendment gun-toting jerk-offs did not forget to bring their guns when they're going to go and overturn the government. So let me just help you out there, Joanna. Not to say that people didn't break the law, but the majority of the people were there because they wanted some transparency in our elections. The only thing I was upset about was the fact that now they wanted transparency when their guy got screwed, not when other people got screwed. Like, you got to be a little consistent, but other than that, it is what it is.
It's the song that never ends.
So, Pittsburgh Dude says ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine would have been cheaper for the government to provide than the vaccine, but at the consumer level, the vax was free, and you had to buy ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine on your own. That is true. But
That's true.
But once again, the results of the other things were proven. Ivermectin had been proven. It won the guy who created it won the Nobel Peace Prize, I think, at one point because of what it has done with Lyme's and worms diseases in Africa. And we knew it was safer than aspirin. We didn't know shit about the vaccine. Big difference. But I'm going to give you the last word, Joanna. I just want to know where you stand today on the whole situation as you're looking at this thing with Fauci and whatnot, because we might have another situation like this again, right? They've already teased us with monkeypox, which I like to call crackerpox because monkeypox is racist. So what your thoughts are on this again? Do you think the government should get a little leeway for the way they treated it because we didn't know what was going on? Do you think they reached too far? What are your thoughts moving forward?
I think that they need to be. Here's the thing that I think got a lot of people, and this is a conversation that I had with my best friend who refuses to get it. There's something to saying I know something and I don't know something, right? And people make informed decisions on their own as to what they're going to do or not do. I think there was a lot of, you have to do this because of these things, when they really just didn't know the answers at that point. Or maybe they did know the answers at that point. Either way, I think the messaging has to be concise, and they need to be clear. And personally, I mean, like I said, when I went to the Army, when I was 18 years old, and they shot me a bunch of shots,
Yeah.
and I didn't even know what it was. It was just mandatory. Nobody would talk. It was just like, you get in a line, and they're just like, shoot you, and then go change your clothes, and then now go stand in formation for hours before moving on to the next thing. So, I mean, if it's a vaccine, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it.
Yeah, but see, that's Joanna. I don't mean to cut you off, but I was in the Navy and it did the same thing to me. And there's a good chance that I took the anthrax vaccine and the smallpox vaccine because I was in the Navy the time they were doing that. It doesn't make it right. I didn't have a serious eczema inflammation problem until after I left the service, right? So there's a good chance that one of those vaccines did that shit to me. And I'm now at the process, and I was very, very sick last year. And I think I was very, very sick because during COVID, it changed the way I had to take care of myself. In other words, for me, the empowerment that came from COVID was like, all right, there's a bunch of fat people who are dying, overweight people who are dying. I shouldn't have said fat. I'm sorry. I'm Italian. There's a bunch of overweight people who are dying. They're not exercising properly. They're not taking care of their gut. I need to do this. And I went through this whole situation in which I tried to remove a chronic disease from me. But I think that chronic disease was put in there from a vaccine. The testing for the anthrax vaccine wasn't really made public, and it doesn't make it right. And I don't know why, Joanne, I love you, but I don't know why you have this mentality. Well, they did it before, so they can do it again. No, they almost killed you one time before. Why would you let them try to kill you again?
That's not what I'm trying to say. And I mean, if it's between you and your doctor. You know, you have to make those informed decisions with you and your doctor. For me personally, I did not have any side effects from any of the vaccines that I've ever taken in my life.
Yeah, thank God.
And I don't get sick. Very, very rarely do I get sick. And I'm fat. Like I'm a big person. But I just personally, I've never had any issues with any of the vaccines that I've ever taken. And I haven't had any other side effects when it comes to that. And like, even thinking of the things that I'm dealing with, it is all because of my weight, but it's not even that serious, honestly. And I couldn't tell you why. My body just metabolizes, certain things great, but when it comes to food, it just sticks to my butt. I mean, I don't know.
No, I'm the same way.
But
I have a little sugar, I have a little bread, and I'm bloated for like 3 days. My body's the same way. It's like, damn.
But I've gotten, heart tests, and I've done all the tests, and I'm pretty much, they're just like, yeah, you're just big. Like I don't have anything else. So in my experience, I haven't had side effects to having vaccines. My immediate family, my husband, my kids, we haven't had any side effects to having vaccines, and we all also never got COVID. We haven't gotten the flu. Like we take our vaccines and we do what we got to do, and that's just it. So personally, I probably would take another vaccine if it comes out to take it, just because, like I said, I haven't had any issues. But I know that there's people who would have issues, and that's because every body is different. Every human body is going to react to things differently. And that's something that you have to make that decision with your doctor. I think if you're healthy enough to get whatever vaccines and your doctor recommends it, and you have to have this, that's the one thing that a lot of Americans don't have. They don't have a primary doctor that they trust. So, they don't even go to the doctor. We don't, so if you don't have a primary doctor that you can trust and you can have those candid conversations with your doctor, then you're not going to come to good results in any fashion.
Yeah.
So I think first people need to go, need to find a doctor they trust and then have those candid conversations with their doctor to see if it's right for them. And I think that's, really a lot of people, they don't trust doctors, which is fine, but maybe you just don't trust that doctor. Find another one. People give up too easily. They don't have time.
I think a
Can
lot
I
Or they
jump
don't
on
even
some
have
Pasta
the
real quick?
insurance to go.
You're muted.
I'm muted?
No.
No. Okay, yeah. The only thing I was going to say is if you remember during COVID,
Hold on,
particularly
Joanna.
in 2021, there was, a lot of doctors
Say
who were
something,
coming
Pasta.
out and saying that hydrochloroquine, ivermectin
I gotta
were
come back, yeah.
effective treatments, that
Hold
we
on.
should go down that route. And then the government was coming in and cracking down on them. The people were losing their jobs. They were, the government has gotten between the doctor-patient relationship at this point where 95% of doctors out there are just going to tell you to do what the government says to do. Additionally, during COVID, I told somebody, I said, I will take the COVID vaccine if any member of the Biden administration ever says, consult with your doctor and decide if you should get the vaccine. They never said that. The message was always get the vaccine, get the vaccine, get the vaccine. There was never any consideration of talking with your doctor or anything like that. And even if people did, again, 95% of doctors out there knew that they had to toe the line to keep their jobs. And there was also financial incentives for vaccinating people on top of all that. So even if somebody was like on the fence, didn't really have a position, the government comes in and says, hey, if 90% of your patients get vaccinated, you're going to get this nice little bonus and those things going on. So there really isn't like this sacred relationship where you could go to a doctor and have a doctor you trust. Your doctor has their own livelihood, their own families. So, they're going to tell you what they need to tell you to keep their job. And I understand why doctors do that, but I'm also not going to take a vaccine because the doctor tells me to, if the doctor's only telling me to, because that's what the government is telling them.
Yeah. And the way
that goes back to trusting your doctor. You have to trust your doctor. I mean, I have family who, on one side of my family who are doctors, and are nurses and caregivers. So, I trust, my personal doctor, not them, but my personal doctor, has their own practice, and they may have these other incentives, but I trust my doctor. I've been going to the same doctor for many years, and it took me a while to come to find a doctor that I trust. It's not that I just went to the doctor and I'm going to trust anything that they say. I have to have a personal relationship with any of my doctors, whether it be the dermatologist, a therapist, whether it be a primary doctor. You have to have that relationship in order to build that trust. If you don't build that trust and you're just going to the doctor, of course you're going to feel that way. Why wouldn't you? You have to have that personal relationship. It takes time, and it's time that people don't do. They're not loyal to their doctor. They just go to whatever's open next. And they don't build that trust.
I want to jump in. I get it, because I want to stop you right there, because I want to reiterate what Kyle is saying. And I know we have another caller on hold. I'm getting texts over here. But let me just say this much. But if you, for instance, you start dating somebody, think back when you're single and stuff, and you start dating somebody, but he's a liar, and he's always been a liar. It's going to take you a while for you to gain that trust, because that guy is a liar, right? Big Pharma has always been dishonest. And doctors, the ones you're talking about building a relationship with, they are so much controlled. And Kyle talked about their livelihood depended on them following orders. I was following orders. Really, to tell you the truth, if you can lose everything there, and that the person that you are talking to that is supposed to be your doctor, and you're trying to build trust, but that doctor's whole livelihood is based upon going along to get along, to keep that license, to make sure they can still practice, they have to do what Big Pharma says. Wouldn't you be distrusting of any doctor at that point, not just this doctor or that doctor?
I guess I don't have that experience with my doctor. I don't. My doctor tells me when there's, things that are out there and say this is not a concern, or when there is a concern. Even my pediatrician for my kids, like my son, when he was born, he would projectile vomit all over everything. He didn't keep nothing down, and he wasn't growing. And my doctor at 1 month old, my doctor was just like, give him food, start giving him malanga, and give him yuca, and give him avocado and bananas. And I did, and it worked. Other than, oh, well, here's another drug that we can give you. Like, there's good people out there, and I hear what you're saying, but for me personally, like my doctor has told me, okay, we could give you this medication, but if you change your diet, this will help better. So I mean, it's just your relationship with your doctor and what I understand. I get it that there's doctors out there who will only push medications, but I think that is a sign of a doctor I wouldn't trust. There's also doctors out there that are going to tell you, here's your options. You could do this, or this. Where is it that you want to go to, help you in whatever problem you have going on? So, I mean, I get what you're saying. I just don't think it's universal based on my own experience.
I hear you. There are a lot of reasons why people became a doctor in the first place is because they wanted to help people. It's a slippery slope. I get it. However, if another vaccine comes out, I'm going to talk you out of it. There's no chance you're getting that sucker because you'll hear me and you'll be like, Pasta, you're right. So thank you so much for calling. We got to get to the next caller, Joanna. I love you, and I appreciate you making the show awesome.
Thanks. Love you. Bye.
Later. It was not a vaccine. It was gene therapy, says Lady Alex XM. Let's get to that next caller because I know somebody's been texting me. I've been on hold forever.
All right, caller's here. Pasta?
Go ahead, caller. Where are you calling from? Caller, who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hold on. Browser. God damn it.
I'm going to read some of the starred comments while he is going there. COVID was a military psyop. Fauci was not the main guy. He was the front man. I believe that 1,000%. There's so much evidence. Like I said, look at the lockstep.
Caller. Mute your stream.
Hello?
Caller, you need to mute your screen. You mute your stream and just listen to the phone.
Okay, here we go.
All right.
Sorry.
Dave.
Dude. So when transhumanism is the topic, I gotta say something.
What you got?
So, people don't think about the Rockefeller School of Medicine and Education enough as a term.
I do.
And I know it's kind of an important detail. So since it's still in effect. Now, we've talked before with Nico here about Rh negative blood types. There's no such thing as ubiquitous medicine because Rh negatives react differently to vaccines, and most of us are never supposed to be vaccinated because the thicker cell walls finish the attenuated vaccine, and we become what they call super spreaders. We don't show symptoms, we just generate virus. So we're actually never, ever supposed to have an attenuated vaccine because pretty much every time we finish it and plagues result. And this is something they concealed from people. We're 16% of the population. That's 1 in 6. So you can't tell me they're not doing this stuff intentionally at this point.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think they've been doing it for quite some time, and I think more than anybody, right? Is that these people who thrusted the COVID-19 scandal on us are all Malthusiast, right? They got to cleanse the earth and get rid of a lot of the useful eaters every so often. So I think COVID was just a part of that, but it was also about restructuring the health industry even more into the hands of the very few, the Rockefeller School of Medicine and whatnot. So everything's funneled their way financially. The WHO assisted in that. The CDC assisted in that. People didn't look at alternatives. But what the good things that happened, I think that people's mindset on their health has changed since COVID. And also, I think functional medicine. I do see functional medicine, where a lot of the treatments in functional medicine happen to be vitamins and supplements and whatnot. You know what the main vitamin or main supplement was for COVID from functional doctors? Guess what it was?
Wasn't it HCQ on the side?
No, come on. What was the number one vitamin that they wanted you to get from functional medicine doctors? You know which vitamin it is.
Oh, yeah, vitamin D supplements.
Hey!
Yeah. Sunlight kills COVID while they were blocking it.
Yeah. Well, they were blocking the zinc ionophores and the stuff that got that vitamin D and that zinc and that vitamin C into your body quicker, which was the ivermectin and the hydroxychloroquine. They were just the switch to push those into you. I mean, ivermectin did kill the viral load, but these were ways of getting zinc and vitamin D into your system more effectively. And Gavin Newsom closing the beaches when vitamin D was the most important thing. Why doesn't Gavin Newsom go to jail for that shit? Right? Isn't he responsible for killing some people?
Yeah. Well, our whole government is, the Harvard Global Sun Dimming Project gave a university a project that literally killed millions, potentially billions of people around the world. And there's no accountability. And it's not a secret anymore. The Ukrainian biolabs are credited with growing 14 strains of COVID. And we've got emails from Fauci to Gates back and forth, or no, Epstein to Gates, I'm sorry, I misspoke, discussing accidentally releasing a COVID strain, which did happen over there. It was in the RT documentary Inventing Ukraine. They had an E. coli, an Ebola, and a COVID outbreak, and they concealed it all. We know this is true now, but they were lying about it in 2020 because they couldn't afford for the biolab information to get out back then. They couldn't let Putin be right. But if you remember, there was a video back in 2018 and 2019 of the mRNA nanotech working inside of a living system. And they said it was human. But what struck me is what this thing looked like. It reminded me of the big eye robot from Johnny Quest back in the 80s. And this thing took out a pair of scissors from its guts, cut a piece of DNA or mRNA out of someone's genetics, and then pulls something out of its stomach and puts it in like a cut and paste. Now, this video was so violent, it was gone by 2020. You really can't find it anymore, but it was out there. They showed us what they planned to do to us. And it was repulsive to me. So they knew, they absolutely knew what they were trying to do, whether it was a mad experiment or not. And now Gates is head of the aerosolized vaccine lobby. So who knows how much stuff they're pumping into us daily, because they said they stopped geoengineering, but go look outside, go look up,
Dave, do you think that this was either the form of the vaccine or the COVID itself was aerosoled out with a lot of this geoengineering out there? In other words, kill two birds with one stone. Let's continue to make sure that people don't get their vitamin D. But, also with our aerosols, we can inject either the COVID or the vaccine to people out there. There were a lot of people who believe that this went airborne. I think you put something in the chat earlier today that says that. And I know you'd have a lot of knowledge on that. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, they talked about the rabies vaccine in 2018. They were aerosolizing, and they really haven't mentioned much since. We would have to get a comprehensive list of all the vaccines that have been aerosolized, which should be listed under Bill Gates's program. But I'm betting that it's classified at this point for the protection of the government. This is information we all need to look for, and I'll admit I haven't really looked enough. I just look up every day and I see them still spraying, despite the fact Trump claimed we stopped. They're masters of the combination shot. Look at this heat that we're dealing with. When you create a greenhouse effect like they have with the sun dimming system, you keep the sunlight out, but you also keep the microwaves in and prevent them from escaping to space. Then they just bounce and bounce and bounce. I mean, this is what kills things in a greenhouse effect. This is part of, the history I learned growing up. But there again, you have that Rockefeller School of Education. So we really need to ask our government these questions, petition grievances to them, because every single death, not only from COVID, not only from the vaccine, but from an immunocompromised state, can be laid at the feet of our government through the Harvard Global Sun Dimming Project, through NOAA, through solar radiation modification. And you can't tell me they don't know what they did, because they took the congressionally mandated report on SRM from the White House homepage. It was that bad. Now you have to go to ISSUU to find it. So they know. They absolutely know they're responsible. And you can't tell me it's not intentional, because it's a transhumanist plan. They want to turn us into something else.
Has there ever been an aerosolic vaccine or any other type of? I know they wouldn't say, "Oh, we released the virus." Then they wouldn't admit to that. But have they admitted to releasing something else out there other than the fact that they're dimming the sun, right? Other than aluminum and barium, other than the ball stuff, have they admitted to releasing an aerosolic vaccine before?
I'm looking now. So the NCBI has aerosol delivery of adenovirus vector tuberculosis vaccine. That's right. They were developing a aerosolized TB vaccine. That's on.
So we know that they've been in the works. We know that they've been working on them. We just haven't heard whether or not they were released. Because, I mean, I know you've probably heard of that movie that was out there. I don't know if you saw it, Kyle or Sleepy. It was called In the Water, right? It's in the water, I think. And there was a theory that they released COVID through snake venom, using snake venom in the water. Did anybody see that movie? It was really, really hot.
I know what you're talking about. I didn't see the movie, but I had a QAnon friend that was 100% sure that he got steak venom from the fountain at Five Guys restaurant. And I'm like, dude, he probably just breathed the air, I mean, he's in recovery from QAnon now, but he was under that umbrella. So remember, they only have to tell you once or twice. Sometimes they go for annual renewal, like with the Sun Dimming Project. You can find articles every year from the same sources saying Bill Gates is pushing it, but not that we're doing it. Those are in Forbes and Popular Mechanics and Scientific American, things like that. But you'll find the same article year after year after year while they're getting that annual congressional approval. But that's part of their cult thing. I was just reminded about the TB vaccine. Sometimes it's kind of taxing knowing the stuff I know. It gets to be a big pile. But I mean, just going back to the fact that they're, blindly inoculating Rh negatives, knowing some of them are going to be, disease vectors for it, it means they're creating the crisis to sell the cure, and the cure is a bioweapon. When does Trump or Biden answer for the massive explosion in bad pregnancies? They've destroyed entire bloodlines while monetizing synthetic birthing chambers. You can't tell me it wasn't part of the plan, because Epstein was involved in the same kind of eugenics.
What are your thoughts on the whole Fauci situation? You know what I'm saying, like that? Do you think he's just
it was a humiliation ritual? It was nothing but a humiliation ritual. I knew what was coming right before. Sometimes I get these little flashes of inspiration out of nowhere, and I just know things. Like on February 5th or January 5th, 2021, I already knew that the next day was an FBI psyop. I warned everybody just so I could have it in print that, hey, I warned you. If you show up, it's your own problem. Because I had friends back in D.C. I didn't want them to fall into that trap. But yeah, this was definitely a humiliation ritual. People are coping by saying, "Oh, look, his lawyer got kicked out." I'm like, that's all part of the humiliation ritual, man. Like, he stood up there, and now this is going to guarantee he has no negative side effects, just like the MK Ultra trials, just like these fake Epstein, hearings. Nobody is ever going to jail. Nobody is ever going to see an electric chair. Nobody's ever going to get punished for serving the transhumanist state because they run everything.
This is really consistent with your ideology. Why do I say ideology? With your beliefs, revelation of the method, right? That's very, very consistent with humiliation rituals. I'm going to give you the last 30 seconds, Bo, to give us what you got. I did want to ask you about something else, but it would just take too long and we'd get off the subject. Next time you call in, maybe we can talk tomorrow with Andrew Zygmunt about QAnon and like the psyops and what that really is. Because telling me, and I'm sorry for laughing at your friend, because when he said he got it from the water fountain at the Five Guys, I mean that's fucking great. I'm sorry, but sticking on the subject, can you just put a bow on it? I mean, you pretty much just put a bow on it. Nobody's ever going to go to jail. Nobody's ever going to see time. But just take the last 30 seconds and finish it on up, my friend.
Yeah, so I can summarize by telling you about a recent hospital visit I had. They were shocked when I told them I didn't want morphine. They were shocked when I told them no mRNA vaccines or attenuated viruses. You've got these hospital staff that don't even know anything about blood types. When's the last time your doctor asked you what's your diet and how does it apply to your blood type, or this is the right diet for your blood type? Doctors are only paid to know what they're paid to teach, what they're paid to impart. So if you're blindly trusting anyone in a system that's clearly built on transhumanism under a clearly geoengineered sky, and they're not discussing this, then you can't trust them. What happened to my X-Files believers? Trust no one.
Yeah, right.
We've become too open to gene therapies. So, just question more, learn more, look into it yourself before you put this stuff into your family. I have so many friends that have dead parents, dead kids, dead family members because they just blindly trusted, and you can't get that back. You can never get that back. So rather live your life like I do, which every day, you contributed to the plot, you contributed to the death, and I did it for a paycheck. Give yourself that extra 5 minutes to look. Just look, and if there's nothing there, there's nothing there. But if there is something there, then you could save a life, and that life you could save could be your own. The conscience you save could be yours every day. Just take the 5 minutes rather than, just automatically take the recommendation from your quote unquote doctor. I'm not saying don't trust anybody, but don't trust the information blindly. It's just information. You have nothing to lose by asking questions. A little bit of time maybe, but that's better than your life. It's better than your kid's life. It's better than your parents' life. And it's better than the guilt. And you got to trust me on that, because I live with that guilt every single day.
Well, you might be living with that guilt, and I can't tell you how to deal with that. Only you can tell yourself how to deal with that, because it's you who has that guilt. But I got to tell you that you, in my mind, are making things right by coming on and preaching and saying the things you're saying right now, because I didn't know how to express what you just expressed from my friend and caller Joanna, when she was talking about that relationship with the doctor. Don't trust the information, right? Like, just look up the information. Thank you so much. Look up the information. You can do that. You can take the time. And you have to be your own doctor in some ways. Dave, thank you so much. You're vindicating yourself as far as I'm concerned. And if you feel like more vindication is necessary, continue to watch, continue to call on in. And I think one day we got to do what we're going to do with Don DeBar, the caller, because we couldn't get through. We're going to put him on. But I'd be happy to do this with you one day, to let you jump on in, Dave. I appreciate your work, and I think you're doing the Lord's work right now. And I don't believe necessarily the Lord, I'm just saying it's like a phrase.
You give me a voice. And that is all I can ask. So you are, at that point, you're basically like my priest. No offense, but you give me a chance to atone for what I've done. And that's really all I needed. I hope people take the advice, but at the same time, I really appreciate what you've done, because you're the hero here, man. I wouldn't have a voice if it wasn't for you.
Well, thank you. From now on, you call me father. Got it?
Daddy pasta.
Ah!
All right, man.
I
Have a
love
good
you,
one.
Dave.
Thank you so much.
You got it, brother.
Take care, guys.
All right. If you're online and you're calling, just chill out for a second. We got to have Don DeBarres in here right now. We had issues with the phone. He got hung up on. Whatever. We lost him. I just think he's a boomer. Doesn't know how to operate a fucking.
Nah, my browser tore up again. It lost all audio again.
Jesus
Being
Christmas.
stupid.
Don, you're muted.
Can you hear me?
No.
A little bit
No?
more volume.
Why is that?
Why's your
Where
volume
do
so
I
low?
unmute? Let's see here.
No, you're not muted.
I
No, but
hear him.
his
Yeah.
volume's low.
You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. You want? Okay, good.
Yeah. Let's put Don center stage. Don, you got some information you'd like to share. You sent me some stuff, but I can't bring the 36 pages of information that you got in one sitting. So
Yes. Padre Pasta Oremus.
yes. You look good, by the way. You're losing weight.
Yeah, I'm down to 220 now. I was at 268, I think, or something, 260 something.
Nice.
So,
You're
yeah,
looking
I'm
beautiful.
getting
You're looking tan. You're looking.
Yeah, that too. We've been outside a lot.
Svet.
We've traveled a lot too.
Yeah.
I've been lucky the last year or two.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to start with two things. One is just to remind people, because I mentioned this yesterday, fascism, for all the crap they'll tell you now if you Google it, fascism's innovation and its real core is using the power of the state to take the what they call the irrationality out of the market, out of the so-called free market, in essence, to control the marketplace on behalf of private interests. So you don't have the state owning things; you have the state managing things so that large corporations can fully express their greed. In essence, that's what it is. The militarism stems from that. The experimentation on people extends from that. And now we'll go to Nuremberg, because actually at the Nuremberg trials, within that, there's something called the doctor's trial, which lasted from 1946 to 1947. Out of that, they forced this was talking about the Nazis forced experimentations on Jews, communists, Slavs, gypsies, everybody they could get their hands on, basically people without power in that particular culture, to try out new drugs and medical procedures and sociological experiments on innocent people. This is from the trial transcript. The great weight of the evidence before us is to the effect that certain types of medical experiments on human beings, when kept within reasonably well-defined bounds, conform to the ethics of the medical profession generally. But all agree, however, certain basic principles must be observed in order to satisfy moral, ethical, and legal concepts. And this is the first one. The voluntary consent of the human subject is absolutely essential. There's no qualification in the paragraphs after that, 2 paragraphs after that. Okay, 2 paragraphs of things that color it. Nothing is an exception. Nothing. And that is what was denied here. Now, I want to go to what this was. This was from Trump's executive order, September 19th, 2019.
2019.
2019.
2019.
Okay.
What year was COVID?
September 2019.
Yes. And what year was COVID?
December 2019.
Exactly. Go ahead.
Here we go. It is the policy. This is section 2, policy. And this document is called Executive Order 13887 of September 19th, 2019, modernizing influenza vaccines in the United States to promote national security, when I see those words, and public health. Here's section 2, policy. It is the policy of the United States. Now, this is the president of the United States who sets policy to modernize the domestic influenza vaccine enterprise to be highly responsive, flexible, scalable, and more effective at preventing the spread of influenza viruses. Who could argue with that? This is a public health and national security priority, as influenza has the potential to significantly harm the United States and our interests, including through large-scale illness and death, disruption to military operations, and damage to the economy. This order directs actions to reduce the United States' reliance on egg-based influenza vaccine production, which is the only alternative was mRNA, which is what they were experimenting with, to expand domestic capacity of alternative methods that allow more agile and rapid response to emerging influenza viruses, which is exactly what they claimed they were producing with mRNA because of the way most of it's made, and you just insert this specific into it, to advance the development of new broadly protective vaccine candidates that promote more effective and longer lasting immunities. In other words, to advance the development, to pay for it, and to support the promotion of increased influenza vaccine immunization across recommended populations. In other words, to also propagandize and do whatever else will support increased use across populations. Then he created, under Section 3, a National Influenza Vaccine Task Force. Here's who's in it. First, it's co-chaired by the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of Health and Human Services, or their designees. So, and in order, the Department of Defense, the Department of Justice, the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Veterans Affairs, the Department of Homeland Security, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, CDC, the National Institute of Health, way the hell down there, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, and the Biomedical Advanced Research Project, and it was Biomedic DARPA. This is what this thing was. As soon as they announce it, as long as it takes for them to say, okay, open the window and let it out the window and let's watch it spread, it happens. I was supposed to go to China in December of 2019 with a group that Cynthia McKinney took over there. And I paid for the trip even. And my mother, it was supposed to be at the last week of this, starting December 26th, we were supposed to leave. December 27th, we were supposed to leave and stay there till like 2 weeks or whatever. And we were going to go to a number of cities, Beijing, across China. I couldn't go because my mother went in the hospital the day before I was supposed to leave, and I had to stay here and take care of her. When they came back, people were talking about COVID, this weird flu that just came in from China and stuff. People on our plane got sick. So that was 2 months and change later after this thing was issued. 3 months. I mean, that's how long it takes to roll it out. So, I have no doubt that this is a result of the government assisting Big Pharma in rolling this out. What was the intention? Is the intention to boost their profitability, to kill people off, whatever other fucking things you want to say? They did this, and there was no research for it. And what was drilled down aside from this is, in terms of the medical profession, okay, I trust my doctor, but he's been my doctor mostly since 1988 or something. I mean, he's my age, okay? One of us is going to go soon. And I trust him because I know, A, he stays on top of the research and science, and I test him because I try to do that too. And B, I know that he's more concerned about my health than he is about making money, because he always has been like that. But people don't have any way of gauging this stuff, really. And so when you go out, you have to rely on your doctor, like the caller said before. Most people have to rely heavily on them. And so the doctor is supposed to, A, have access to modern information, and the regulatory authorities, if they're going to exist, are supposed to make fucking sure that they're on top of the science before they go out treating people. And number two, that they don't have financial conflicts of interest. And the problem with all of it, Big Pharma and the medical profession, that profit induces doesn't go away if you take away government regulation, because they would do these fucking things with no regulation also. That's the problem we've got.
So in a nutshell, this was coming down the pipeline for quite some time. I think Donald Trump would just kind of help them put it over the top with this executive order. And for people
they had
to not
already, obviously, they had a product that they wanted to use already.
Yeah. No, I mean, and the patents for those products are around since 1990 for
but they didn't have any
coronaviruses.
they had no real human trials of any of it. And then they dumped it on the whole population, which is fucking insane.
Well, they shot up a couple rodents. Come on.
Yeah.
They shot up a couple rodents. You know?
Yep. They wanted to inoculate the whole planet.
Yeah. Well, or they wanted to kill half the fucking planet.
Well, either that or they wanted to test their ability to do that. Will these dummies take it?
Yeah. So what do you think about the whole Fauci situation that we see going on right now?
Gee, I don't know what it is. He's pretending that he's like Paul Robeson. No, in fact, Paul Robeson didn't take the fifth, did he? But he's pretending like he's one of the people, the Hollywood 10 or whatever, taking the fifth. And in a culture that used to excoriate you for it, they didn't used to make excuses or point out that it's your right to do that, which it is, by the way.
Yeah.
But when you're the head of a government agency or of any other large enterprise that impacts people's lives, particularly biologically, they have carve-outs for the Fifth Amendment for just about everything else. Okay, that seems like an area where there should be a carve-out and a contempt of Congress and all of that nonsense that they did to people because they belonged to the Communist Party back in the 30s when they were grilling them in 1952 or whatever. So, and instead you see all the people who supposedly favor human health and dignity and all this other bullshit that comes out of their mouth defending this guy. It's insanity. And the problem is that the people who aren't, look, this is exactly what you're experiencing at WPAI. That's what I was experiencing when they fired my ass, and the same with KPFK.
Yeah.
There's intolerance on both sides, and the assholes don't realize they're all on the same side, and it's against their own interest.
Yeah. Don the bar, ladies and gentlemen. Don, go eat your breakfast.
Thanks,
I appreciate you jumping in. That was educational.
Hey,
I want to
Kyle,
finish
how
up
you
the
doing,
show
man?
today with the economic ramifications. Thanks, Don. I appreciate it. That was beautiful stuff. You're looking amazing, man.
So are you. Take it easy, buddy.
Thank you, brother. I
Nick,
appreciate
you
it.
look pretty good yourself, Nick. I'm sorry.
Hold on a
You look
second,
pretty
really
good
quickly
yourself.
before you go.
What?
Just take a look. You got 3 paisans up on the screen right now. These 3 people know about meatballs and Chianti like nobody's business.
And
That's all I
grappa.
got to say.
How about grappa?
What's that?
Grappa. What about grappa?
You got to stay away from the grappa there, man. You're looking too good. Get out of here with that shit.
Peace. See you guys.
Love you,
Thanks
brother.
a lot.
Love you.
Love you too. Bye-bye.
Take it easy on the grappa. Kyle, I want to, you've been kind of silent this whole show. This has not been a talkative show for you. Usually you got so much stuff to say. I guess the COVID stuff. Can you give us maybe, since we have a little bit limited time though, about the economic ramifications of COVID and why it was so bad? Maybe something about the civil liberties, something that a libertarian can really sink their teeth in for the anti-COVID protocols from the libertarians, because there were a lot of libertarians that went along with this shit, right? So, I mean, the party itself, I don't know what stances it took, but I understand that they care about your civil liberties before everything, and that's important. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I think the Libertarian Party really tried to punt on this issue and to say, if you want to engage in the, social distancing or the masking or take the vaccine, then that's your right to do so, which is technically true. But the only reason anybody wanted to do any of that is because of government propaganda and pressure. It wasn't organic that people were going to suddenly start wearing masks in response to a cold or a flu. Like, we have flu season here in the United States every year, and almost no one wears a mask. Schools don't shut down. It was very clear that this was a result of the propaganda campaign. And I do think that the Libertarian Party really should have spearheaded the countering to that propaganda, that we should have made that in 2020, and then even the 2024 race, a major, if not the central part of the Libertarian Party platform is not only combating the propaganda, but then also getting into the economic consequences. Of course, we see now the inflation, right? It is absolutely, and it's getting worse because of the war in Iran and things like that. But that was and is a major thing that impacts people. You go to the grocery store now, especially now that we have a kid. So I tried to buy like a little bit nicer foods. I get if it were just me, I get the off-brand, the cheapest thing possible with her. I try to get the most organic, the least ingredients in the products, and all that stuff costs a lot more. And so it really hurt at the grocery store, at the gas pump for people on the inflation end. A lot of people lost businesses. A lot of people lost their jobs, were laid off, and have struggled to get back into the workforce. I mean, it's been massive, and I don't even know if you could begin to calculate it. And then one of the other impacts, of course, was the upward transfer of wealth, where a lot of these major companies got billions and billions, hundreds of millions of dollars from the U.S. government, and they didn't do what they were supposed to do with that money. They didn't, the airlines didn't keep flying planes. They didn't keep paying their employees, and many other companies did the same. Now, if you're just like a regular citizen who took out one of those PPP loans and then didn't do what you were supposed to do with it, I don't know. When I was a kid, I loved football, never missed a game. So I remember Clinton Portis quite well. And the reason he's been in the news the last few years was he got prosecuted over the PPP loans. And so, us little folk are subjected to the, making sure we use that money correctly, and the big companies weren't. And so they just made so much money, consolidated so much wealth and power during the COVID lockdowns. And that's another place where I really think the libertarians just missed the mark. It's not necessarily in the typical libertarians vocabulary to talk about upward transfer of wealth being a problem, right? Like, this is, free markets, consolidation of a market.
But it was socialism. It was socialism for the corporations. It was fascism. It was like the government created money to give it to corporations. That's not upward transfer of wealth. That's stealing money from the fucking from the lower class to give to the rich.
Sure. I just mean in the sense of, you got $1,000 paycheck, and Amazon got to be the only company allowed to distribute products in the country, right? Like, just the amount that those people were able to profit off of this. And again, I think it's because so much of libertarianism kind of runs through that strand of Randian philosophy where, business is good. And look, in a true free market, business is good, and big business in a true free market isn't a bad thing. It just means that that company is able to produce the best product at the best price. But that simply doesn't exist here today. When they were negotiating the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, back in the Obama administration, one of the main reasons that I was opposed to that is a huge part of that was making sure that all the Asian states that entered the TPP were following all the U.S. patent laws on drugs. And so, like, if you were in the Philippines or Vietnam or Cambodia and they developed some new diabetes drug in the United States that was really helpful, well, in the United States, it was going to cost $400 or $500 a pill, right? Because, they had the patent on it, they could charge what they wanted. Well, if in Vietnam, if you're not subject to U.S. patent law, you get the pill, you reverse engineer it, and then you're able to make that same pill at cost, which is probably just a few dollars. They really didn't want that to happen. There's so many things like that have happened since COVID, where the big pharma has just gathered so much power to lord everything over the rest of us.
Kyle Anzalone, ladies and gentlemen. How's the show been going? Where can people find you? Got anything new going on?
Show's been going great. I have Larry Johnson on every Mondays, and we break down all the news from over the weekend on Donald Trump's wars. I think I will be doing a solo show today. Pasta, I'll send you a message after this. Maybe we can find a time to get you back on the show soon, because it's been a while since we talked, and people are interested in what we talked about today, the COVID stuff. I did interview Sam Husseini about 2 weeks ago on this. Yeah. And he had, a lot of great stuff to say. So, but typically I'm covering the war stuff. So check out the Kyle Anzalone show Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 4:45 Eastern time. We're live on the YouTubes and nets and the streaming services.
Love you, Kyle. Thank you so much for being a Thursday guest. Sorry I let you down last week. That was my fault that we weren't on. 2 weeks ago, I was moving, so I couldn't do it. But last week, that was completely on me. I apologize.
That's crazy, Pasta. It looks like you're in the exact same place, same exact view and everything.
It is. I just I moved across the street, so that's it.
All right, thanks, Pasta.
Love you, Kyle.
See you soon.
You take it easy. Couple starred stuff I want to read. So this is COVID was a military psyop. Fauci was not the main guy. Very interesting. He was a front man. I believe that. There's a great 2-hour interview with Kerry Mullis where he roasts Fauci most of the time. Yeah, then he ended up dead. Kerry Mullis is the guy who invented the PCR. He says, plain and simple, that it's not used. It shouldn't be used as a diagnostic test. In other words, it's a stepping stone. There's other things you need to use to get to a proper conclusion. How does one protect from aerosol vax? We talked about that with Dave when he called on in. Just following orders. I was just following the orders. In Canada, hospitals needed more funding, more staff, more equipment. COVID comes around, and more COVID cases they had, the more money they got. What do you think happened? False positives. There was a story in Florida where a guy got hit by a motorcycle, and he was dead when he was arrived by the hospital, but they did a COVID test, and they listed COVID as his cause of death. That was the serious shit that was going on because that's where they were getting the money from. Doctors are still wearing masks in cars. I ordered ivermectin hydroxychloroquine, blah, 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 from a pharmacy in Florida, just in case. Never needed to use it. Aren't you lucky, Lady Alex? And also, bless me, Pasta. I forgot to deglaze. You are forgiven, my son. It's a big club. Maybe Deborah Bricks is in it. That's another thing. Like, okay, so Donald Trump could be guilty of signing Operation Warp Speed, going along with a lot of things. But he did try to get hydroxychloroquine out there. Was it done properly? He had got that from Dr. Zelenko. Hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin only worked in a cocktail. You needed to take other things with it. It was best worked at early treatment if you caught the virus early. Deborah Bricks and Richard Bright, I believe it was, actually changed Donald Trump's executive order. They changed it on how to take the hydroxychloroquine. They pretty much just tanked the whole situation. So they had to go back to the COVID vaccine. So that's something interesting to talk about. He did his stuff. It was like a PR thing. It was like virtue signaling because he never followed through to make sure that those were the actual protocols to take place and everybody get hydroxychloroquine. In El Salvador, Nayib Bukele made sure that everybody, all of his citizens, got a little care package that had ivermectin in it, a bunch of other drugs. So it was actually issued out by the state for preventative reasons, and I think that was something that wasn't talked about enough. Sleep, you got anything to say before we get to the final monologue?
I mean, I was going to bring it up earlier, but just a side of why I think we shouldn't be ideologues for any government. So Russia's put out a warrant for the Telegram guy's arrest for supporting terrorism. For
the guy who created Telegram?
Yeah, Durov. They do the same shit we do. So, people who want to, I don't know. Maybe Russia does some stuff better, but in a lot of ways, they're just as bad, if not worse, than us on liberties.
That's true. And the fee's getting a lot of slack for that because she didn't just go all full Russian. And a lot of people, her and Vanessa, have been doing shows criticizing Russia. and they're not happy with Russia right now. Now, with the whole Telegram guy, that could be the fact is that the West wanted backdoors and information, and maybe
Yeah.
he handed that stuff over, and that's why
Well,
Vladimir Putin and the Russian Federation are saying, no, no more.
That's my point, though, is that, it goes both
Yeah.
ways. They the U.S. don't like Telegram either. So,
Well, they grabbed the guy.
They don't like-
right? France or one of the European.
he's out. Like he's back in Dubai, I think. But
Where's he at now?
he's in Dubai.
He's in Dubai. You hang out there for a little while. We'll see how things work out.
But
Make the music,
well,
maestro.
yeah,
Let me know. And I want to thank everybody for watching the show today, man. It flew by. I start talking COVID stuff. It's reopening the doors, opening the mindset about how it was so deep in there. The research I did, the homework I did. I was really proud of myself. I don't think my whole life I did research the way I did during COVID. That and elections. Maybe a little bit about Jeffrey Epstein too as well. Look, as we wrap up today's show, let's take a moment to reflect on the importance of diversity of thought and the peace we can cultivate with our neighbors. In a world that often feels divided, it's our differences that can actually bring us together. Every unique perspective, every story shared enriches our collective experience and fosters understanding. Remember, it's okay to disagree. It's how we handle those disagreements that truly matters. Let's embrace dialogue over debate, compassion over conflict. When we listen to one another, we open the door to meaningful relationships. By engaging with our diverse communities, we can find common ground and build bridges that promote peace. So I encourage you to reach out to someone with a different viewpoint. Share a meal, have a conversation, or simply listen. Let's create a ripple effect of kindness and understanding in our neighborhoods beyond. Hey, thank you for tuning in today. Remember, together we can celebrate our diversity and pave the way for a more brighter, more peaceful future. So until next time, keep the dialogue flowing and the peace growing. I want to thank, a bunch of calls today. Stacy, Greg, Joanna, Dave, Don DeBar, and of course, Kyle Anzalone. I want to thank our producer, Gabriel Freedom. I want to thank Sleepy, our engineer and co-host. What's up, buddy?
You're good.
That's it? You said something, though.
I said Greg.
Greg. Oh, I said Greg. Stacy,
you?
Greg, Joanna, Dave, and Don.
Oh, I thought I missed it. My bad.
My bad too. I love you guys. We'll see you all tomorrow. And peace. You can find me on Matt Weinglass's show at 3:45 Eastern to 5. I'll be talking about Fauci over there. So thank you so much. I love you all. Peace.